Some of the world's most famous attractions are leaving tourists frustrated, out of pocket, and deeply disappointed. Millions spend their savings to visit these iconic sites and walk away wishing they hadn't. These are 20 tourist attractions people regret visiting. Juliet's Balcony, Verona, Italy. Romeo and Juliet is one of the most famous love stories ever told. Millions of people travel to Verona, Italy each year believing they can stand at the very spot where it all happened. The problem is simple. Romeo and Juliet were fictional characters. Shakespeare never visited Italy, and the two lovers never existed outside of his imagination. The building now known as Juliet's House was acquired by the Verona city government in 1905. The famous balcony wasn't added until the 1930s, constructed using part of an old stone sarcophagus. The courtyard below is packed daily with tourists queuing to touch a bronze statue of Juliet, surrounded by souvenir shops selling trinkets connected to a story that never happened. Visiting the interior requires a paid, timed entry booking in advance, and reviewers consistently describe the rooms as bare and underwhelming. The crowds have grown so unmanageable that Verona now charges a €14 entry fee during the festive season just to enter the courtyard. The walls are covered in years of chewing gum and love notes, despite a city decree imposing a €500 fine for sticking anything to the building. Tourists who make the trip specifically for this attraction frequently describe the same feeling. They paid to stand in a crowded courtyard staring at a balcony built in the 1930s for a love story that was never real. Manneken Pis, Brussels, Belgium. Brussels is a city with genuine history, world-class architecture, and a grand place that genuinely stops people in their tracks. Its most visited tourist attraction, however, is none of those things. The Manneken Pis is a bronze statue of a small boy urinating into a fountain, and it draws visitors from across the world who arrive expecting something impressive. The statue stands just 55 centimeters tall, roughly the height of a typical domestic cat. The current version dates to 1619, sculpted by Jérôme Duquesnoy the Elder. What stands at the corner of Rue de la Touve today is actually a replica. The original is kept at the Brussels City Museum. In 2012, more than 1,300 internet users voted it Europe's most disappointing tourist attraction. The two reasons cited most often were its tiny size and the dense crowds that gather around it, which also make the area a target for pickpockets. The statue is free to view, which is perhaps the only thing most visitors feel good about afterward. Reviewers on TripAdvisor regularly describe the experience as anticlimactic. A long walk through the city center to see a small bronze figurine behind iron railings surrounded by tourists holding cameras. Brussels has centuries of genuine history to explore. Most locals find the worldwide fascination with this particular statue completely baffling. The Little Mermaid statue, Copenhagen, Denmark. Denmark's most visited tourist attraction is a bronze statue sitting on a rock at the edge of Copenhagen Harbor. It draws over 1 million visitors per year, has been featured on countless travel bucket lists, and is considered one of the most photographed statues in the world. The reality, for the vast majority of people who make the journey, is a deep sense of anticlimax. The Little Mermaid stands just 1.25 meters tall, roughly 4 feet, and weighs 175 kilograms. It was unveiled in 1913, commissioned by brewery founder Carl Jacobsen, and sculpted by Edvard Eriksson, inspired by a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. The statue sits on a low rock near the water, set back from the promenade, with no barrier between the crowds and the shoreline. Visitors frequently describe it as far smaller than expected, hard to photograph without strangers in the frame, and not particularly impressive once you're standing in front of it. Its popularity baffles most Danes. The statue has also been decapitated twice, knocked from its base with explosives, drenched in paint on multiple occasions, and had various items attached to it by activists and vandals. Copenhagen city officials have repeatedly considered moving it further out into the harbor to reduce access. For a city with remarkable architecture, world-class food, and genuine cultural depth, the fact that its most visited attraction is a 4-foot bronze figure that leaves most tourists cold says everything about the gap between travel hype and reality. Stonehenge, England. Stonehenge is one of the most recognizable prehistoric sites in the world. It appears on bucket lists globally, draws visitors from every continent, and carries the full weight of 5,000 years of mystery. In 2024, a poll by Rough Guides of nearly 10,000 travelers voted it the most overrated tourist attraction on the planet. The stones are real, ancient, and genuinely remarkable from a historical standpoint. The experience of visiting them is another matter entirely. Visitors are kept behind barriers at a significant distance from the monument and guided along a prescribed circular path. There is no museum on site, minimal interpretive signage, and the surrounding landscape includes a busy road audible from the viewing area. A separate study by flight booking site Wingy found over 6,400 negative comments in 15,000 Stonehenge reviews, an overrated ratio of 42.4%. The words disappointing and avoid appeared in over 300 reviews. More than 1,000 reviewers specifically described the tickets as expensive and not worth the price. A renovation project began in 2024 aimed at improving the visitor experience, though critics note that no renovation can fix the core problem. You are standing far away from the thing you came to see. For many visitors, the journey to reach Stonehenge, often involving a long drive across open countryside, makes the gap between expectation and reality feel even wider. One TripAdvisor reviewer put it plainly: big bits of stone in an old field. The Prague Astronomical Clock, Czech Republic. The Prague Astronomical Clock, or Horloge, is one of the oldest astronomical clocks in the world. It was installed on the Old Town Hall Tower in 1410 and has been drawing visitors to Prague's Old Town Square for over 600 years. On paper, it sounds extraordinary. In reality, a global study measuring tourist disappointment found it had the second highest frequency of tourist trap keywords of any attraction analyzed. 20 mentions per every 50 reviews. The clock performs an hourly show in which small figurines of the 12 apostles appear in windows above the clock face, while a skeleton rings a bell. The show lasts roughly 1 minute. Crowds gather in the square well in advance, jostling for position to watch something that is over almost as soon as it begins. Visitors frequently describe arriving, watching the 1-minute display, and wondering why they queued. The surrounding Old Town Square is genuinely beautiful, but the clock itself consistently generates complaints about the gap between its famous reputation and what it actually delivers. Prague is a city with extraordinary architecture, a medieval old town, and centuries of layered history. The astronomical clock is a genuine piece of medieval engineering, but the experience of watching its brief hourly performance, surrounded by thousands of other tourists in a packed square, leaves many people feeling they've been sold something far more spectacular than what actually unfolds. Most who visit say the same thing: the city is wonderful. The clock is not worth the buildup. The Mona Lisa, Louvre Museum, Paris, France. The Mona Lisa is the most famous painting in the world. Leonardo da Vinci painted it in the early 1500s, and it has been housed at the Louvre in Paris since 1797. Millions of people build their entire Paris trip around seeing it. An analysis of over 18,000 visitor reviews found that nearly 40% of comments about the Mona Lisa were negative, enough for it to be named the world's most disappointing masterpiece. The painting measures just 30 by 21 inches. It sits behind bulletproof glass at the far end of a large, crowded room. On a busy day, up to 25,000 people pass through that room, with visitors given roughly 30 seconds in front of the painting before being moved along. Most don't even face the canvas. They turn their backs to take a selfie. The Louvre itself drew nearly 9 million visitors in 2024, double the capacity it was designed to handle. In January 2025, The museum's own director described the situation as being at saturation point. The Louvre unexpectedly closed in June 2025 after staff staged a walkout to protest the overwhelming crowds and deteriorating working conditions. The French government has announced a major renovation project with plans to move the Mona Lisa to its own dedicated underground room. President Macron confirmed the plans in January 2025 with an estimated renovation budget of 500 million euros. The fact that the world's most visited museum needs to physically relocate its most famous painting just to make it bearable to look at says everything about how broken the experience has become. Visitors who make the journey specifically for this moment almost universally describe the same thing: a tiny, distant painting, barely visible through the crowd. The Statue of Liberty, New York, USA. The Statue of Liberty has been a symbol of American identity since 1886. Standing 305 feet tall on Liberty Island in New York Harbor, it was a gift from France and remains one of the most recognizable monuments in the world. In a 2024 poll by rough guides of nearly 10,000 travelers, it was voted the 5th most overrated tourist attraction on the planet. Getting there requires a ferry from Battery Park, with timed tickets that sell out well in advance. The basic ferry ticket does not include access to the pedestal or crown. Those require separate, more expensive tickets booked months ahead. Once on the island, visitors find themselves on a small patch of land with limited viewing angles and dense crowds. The statue looks better from the water than it does from directly beneath it, where the full scale is actually harder to appreciate. A common complaint across travel forums is that visitors spend more time queuing and traveling than they spend on the island itself. Rough Guides readers described the experience as feeling like a herded cow. The free Staten Island ferry from Manhattan passes directly by the statue and provides a clear, unobstructed view from the water at no cost. This is the approach most New Yorkers take. The neighboring Ellis Island, accessible on the same ferry, consistently receives better reviews, with its immigration museum offering a richer, more genuinely moving experience. Many visitors who pay for the full Liberty Island trip come away wishing they had simply taken the ferry and saved the money. The Dead Sea, Jordan/Israel. The Dead Sea sits at the lowest point on Earth, 1,444 feet below sea level, and has drawn visitors for thousands of years. The idea is simple and compelling. Water so salty, you float without effort, mineral-rich mud with legendary skincare properties, and a landscape unlike anywhere else on Earth. A 2025 global study by Stasher, which analyzed 101 of the world's most iconic tourist sites, ranked the Dead Sea the second most disappointing attraction on the planet. The core problem is that the Dead Sea is dying. Water levels have been dropping at roughly 1 meter per year for decades, and the lake has lost around a third of its surface area since the 1960s. The main cause is the near-total diversion of the Jordan River, its primary water source, for agricultural and industrial use. Mineral extraction operations on both the Israeli and Jordanian sides have accelerated the decline further. More than 5,500 sinkholes have been mapped along Israel's western shore alone, caused by the collapsing of underground salt layers as the water retreats. Most beach resorts along the western coast have been shut down as a result, with just a handful remaining. Hotels that once sat on the waterfront now shuttle guests long distances just to reach the shoreline. What visitors find on arrival is an over-commercialized strip of spa resorts selling mud products and wellness packages at inflated prices in a landscape that is visibly deteriorating. Aggressive vendors and misleading sales tactics around mineral products are a consistent theme in traveler reviews. One local resident near Ein Gedi, speaking after the Stasher ranking was published, said simply, "We earned this the hard way." The state of Israel has neglected the Dead Sea region for decades. The floating experience still works. The salt concentration ensures that. But the surroundings tell a different story, and an increasing number of visitors leave feeling they came too late. Halong Bay, Vietnam. Halong Bay is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in northern Vietnam, made up of over 1,600 limestone islands rising from emerald water. The photographs are extraordinary. The bay was added to Fodor's No List, destinations to temporarily stop visiting, in 2024, citing waste generation, water quality, and overcrowding as the main concerns. The pollution problem is real and documented. In February 2024, tourists reported floating plastic waste stretching hundreds of meters across the bay, making swimming impossible. An Australian visitor described the UNESCO site as a sea of trash. A World Bank report found that Vietnam generates around 3.1 million tons of plastic waste per year, with at least 10% leaking into waterways. Conservationists estimate that the bay originally had around 234 types of coral. That number has now fallen by approximately half. Overdevelopment along the shoreline, including new hotels and roads built through the bay's waters, has drawn condemnation from UNESCO, which has urged Vietnamese authorities to act. The visit itself comes with its own frustrations. Halong Bay can only be accessed by boat, meaning tourists must book a cruise through an operator, with quality varying dramatically and little transparency. Many visitors report receiving rooms smaller than described, activities that were rushed or canceled, and food that did not match what was promised. The bay's unpredictable weather means that cloud cover and low visibility are common, particularly in winter months, turning the limestone karst scenery gray and unremarkable. People who arrive expecting the vivid colors of the travel photos and find gray water, plastic waste, and a cruise itinerary that doesn't match what they booked leave feeling they've been let down on every count. Besakih Temple, Bali, Indonesia. Besakih Temple, known as the Mother Temple of Bali, is the largest and most sacred Hindu temple complex on the island. Sitting on the slopes of Mount Agung at roughly 1,000 meters above sea level, it is a complex of 23 interconnected temples dating back over 1,000 years. A global study by Sweepstakes Table, which analyzed TripAdvisor data across 28 major tourist attractions worldwide, gave Besakih Temple the highest negative sentiment score of any attraction analyzed, 93.49 out of 100. Nearly one-third of all reviews gave it just 1 or 2 stars. The core problem is a pattern of aggressive behavior that has been reported consistently across hundreds of reviews spanning years. Visitors describe being surrounded by vendors and unofficial guides the moment they arrive in the car park. Women at the entrance tell tourists they must purchase Balinese offerings to enter. This is a scam. It is not required. Guides demand specific tip amounts and become hostile when visitors decline. One reviewer described being forcibly dressed in sarongs by women who then demanded payment and refused to take no for an answer. Multiple reviews describe being overcharged at the gate, followed immediately by further demands for donations at the entrance to individual temples. The temple complex itself, an extraordinary piece of Balinese Hindu architecture on the slopes of an active volcano, is genuinely significant. The view from the upper terraces is remarkable. For many visitors, however, none of that ends up mattering. The relentless pressure for money at every step, the fake ceremonies, the aggressive vendors inside the temple grounds, and the taxi drivers who are frequently in on the scam collectively create an experience that hundreds of travelers describe as the worst of their entire time in Bali. Visitors who read the reviews in advance and go with a trusted local guide tend to have a better time. Those who arrive unprepared often leave feeling robbed. The Grand Canyon Skywalk, Arizona, USA. The Grand Canyon is one of the natural wonders of the world. The Skywalk, a horseshoe-shaped glass bridge that extends 70 feet out over the canyon's west rim, sounds like the ultimate way to experience it. The experience consistently attracts some of the harshest visitor reviews of any American tourist attraction, with travelers describing it as one of the most expensive and underwhelming tourist traps in the country. The West Rim is not part of Grand Canyon National Park. It is on the Hualapai Tribe's reservation, operated privately. A national park pass does not apply here. As of 2026, the all-access ticket, including the Skywalk, costs over $113 per adult. A family of 4 can easily spend over $400 just to get onto the bridge. The only way to reach the Skywalk from the visitor center is by mandatory shuttle bus. Personal cameras and phones must be locked away before stepping onto the bridge. The only way to get a photo is to pay the on-site photographers, who charge $17 per print or around $69 for a digital package. The Skywalk itself lasts around 10 to 15 minutes. The bridge is smaller than most visitors expect from the promotional images, and the drop, though genuinely dramatic, is 2,000 feet to the canyon floor, not the 4,000 feet sometimes cited in marketing material. The full 4,000-foot depth refers to the distance to the Colorado River at the canyon bottom, which is only visible in the far distance. Reviewers consistently note that the south rim of the Grand Canyon, accessible with a standard $35 National Park Pass, valid for 7 days, offers far more spectacular views, more trails, and a genuinely immersive experience of one of the Earth's greatest geological formations. The Széchenyi Baths, Budapest, Hungary. The Széchenyi Baths opened in 1913 and are the largest medicinal thermal bath complex in Europe. The neo-Baroque yellow building in City Park is one of Budapest's most photographed landmarks. The idea, soaking in mineral-rich geothermal water inside a century-old palace, sounds extraordinary. A 2025 global study by Radical Storage found that 37.2% of all reviews for the Széchenyi Baths were negative, making it one of the most disappointing tourist attractions in Europe. The baths attracted 1.7 million visitors in 2024, generating over $37 million in revenue, with tourists making up 35% of that figure. The crowds are the central problem. Reviewers describe queues for the outdoor pools, even on non-peak days, sunbeds that are impossible to find, and indoor changing facilities that feel overcrowded and poorly maintained. Entry costs around €41, with additional charges for towels, lockers, and massages. A 3-year renovation project began in 2024 to update water engineering, fire safety systems, and the neo-Baroque architecture, though critics note that renovation cannot fix the fundamental problem of too many people in a space not designed for this level of tourism. A June 2025 TripAdvisor review called the experience a disaster, describing no available sunbeds and queues of people lining up for pools that were already at capacity. Budapest has multiple other thermal bath options, including the Gellert baths and the Rudaz baths, that offer a similar geothermal experience with smaller crowds. Visitors who do their research and visit Széchenyi early on a weekday morning in low season report a very different experience from those who arrive mid-afternoon in summer. For the majority who turn up during peak hours expecting a relaxing soak, the reality is closer to a busy public swimming pool with a palatial backdrop. Park Güell, Barcelona, Spain. Park Güell is an Antoni Gaudí masterpiece, a public park completed in 1914 that blends colorful mosaic tiles, surreal stone archways, and panoramic views of Barcelona. It is one of the most photographed locations in Spain and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A global study measuring tourist disappointment found that Park Güell recorded 18 tourist trap keyword mentions per every 50 reviews, one of the highest rates of any attraction analyzed worldwide. Tickets to the Monumental Zone, the main decorated area of the park, must be booked online in advance with timed entry slots. Even with a ticket, the terraces are crowded during peak hours, making the famous mosaic dragon staircase and panoramic terrace difficult to enjoy or photograph without other tourists in the frame. Barcelona City Council voted in 2025 to reduce the annual visitor cap from 4.5 million to 4 million over 2 years, a reduction locals described as not ambitious enough, calling for cuts to 2 million. The surrounding neighborhood of La Salle has restricted car access as residents struggle with the constant flow of tourists through their streets. The park's problem is partly a victim of its own beauty. The images on social media, sweeping mosaics, colorful salamanders, and empty terraces with the city spread below, were taken in moments of low footfall and heavy editing. What most visitors find is a densely packed terrace where getting a clear photograph requires both patience and luck. The Gaudi architecture is genuinely extraordinary, and the views of Barcelona are real. Whether the experience matches the price, the advanced planning, and the reality of the crowds has become increasingly debatable. The Empire State Building, New York, USA. The Empire State Building was the tallest building in the world when it opened in 1931, standing 1,454 feet tall, including its antenna. For over 2 decades, nothing on Earth reached higher. It appeared in King Kong, Sleepless in Seattle, and dozens of other films that cemented its status as the defining symbol of New York City. By 2025, it ranked only 8th tallest in New York itself. And the observation experience has not kept pace with the competition that has grown up around it. The 86th floor observation deck is an open-air platform with mounted metal binoculars and city views that on a clear day extend across 6 states. The basic adult ticket costs around $44. Upgrading to the 102nd floor deck adds another significant cost. The crucial flaw pointed out consistently by visitors: you cannot see the Empire State Building from the Empire State Building. The building's own iconic spire, the defining feature of the New York skyline, is absent from every photograph taken from the top. Meanwhile, alternatives like the top of the rock at 30 Rockefeller Center offer direct views of the Empire State Building itself, often at a comparable price. The queues are long, the elevators are dated. The experience, while undeniably situated high above one of the world's great cities, delivers views that rival or free options around New York make available without the wait, the cost, or the crowds. The free Staten Island ferry gives a stunning waterfront view of Lower Manhattan. The High Line, the Brooklyn Bridge Walkway, and any number of rooftop bars offer perspectives on the city that cost far less. The Empire State Building is a genuine icon. Going up it is a different matter. And an increasing number of visitors come down wondering what the fuss was about. The London Eye, England. The London Eye opened in 2000 and was an immediate sensation, a 135-meter observation wheel on the south bank of the Thames, offering sweeping views across the capital. 25 years later, it is routinely described by travel guides and visitor reviews alike as London's most overpriced tourist attraction. Frommer's London Guide calls it overrated directly in a section dedicated to the city's worst tourist traps. A standard adult ticket costs around £36 to £45, depending on the booking window and time of day. The rotation takes 30 minutes. Many visitors describe the experience as feeling rushed and expensive, particularly given that the same views, or better, are available for free from Primrose Hill, Parliament Hill on Hampstead Heath, or the Sky Garden at 20 Fenchurch Street. The London Eye also suffers from a glass capsule design that makes photography difficult, especially on overcast days. When it opened, it was the tallest observation wheel in the world. That status disappeared years ago, and the technology has not aged well against newer observation decks that offer glass floors, enclosed panoramas, and more dramatic heights. A 2024 study on stressful tourist traps named the London Eye as the most stressful tourist attraction in the UK, with visitors citing expensive tickets and long queues as the primary complaints. London has some of the best free museums in the world, genuine royal landmarks, and centuries of walkable history. The Eye sits in a city where the competition for a visitor's time and money is extraordinary. And it consistently falls short of what that money buys elsewhere. Most Londoners never go on it, and most tourists who do go wish they had spent the afternoon differently. Rainbow Mountain, Peru. Rainbow Mountain, known locally as Vinicunca, is a natural wonder in the Peruvian Andes. Colored mineral deposits in the rock, iron oxide reds, copper sulfate greens, and calcium carbonate whites, create striped layers that look extraordinary in photographs. The mountain was only uncovered around 2012 when the glacier that had covered it for centuries began melting due to climate change. Within a few years, it went viral on Instagram and became one of South America's most searched tourist destinations. The photographs that put Rainbow Mountain on the map bear little resemblance to what most visitors actually find. The colors in real life are significantly more muted than the heavily saturated images that circulate online. On cloudy days, which are common, particularly outside the dry season from May to October, the mountain can appear almost entirely gray. The trek starts at over 5,000 meters above sea level, making it one of the highest points regularly visited by tourists in Peru. Altitude sickness is not a theoretical concern here. It is a near certainty for visitors who have not acclimatized properly. Multiple deaths have been recorded on Rainbow Mountain, including a 50-year-old French tourist in 2016, a Korean-American tourist in 2018, and a Peruvian tourist in 2020. All are attributed to cardiac stress caused by extreme altitude. One tour company that has operated in Peru for decades states on its website that it refuses to sell Rainbow Mountain tours due to safety concerns, citing it as a perfect example of how tourism can go badly wrong. Cheap, often unlicensed operators flooded the market once the mountain went viral, with roads and car parks bulldozed into a fragile, high-altitude environment with no environmental oversight. Visitors who make the 4 a.m. start endure the 3-hour bus journey on rough mountain roads, and complete the altitude-stricken hike frequently describe the same realization at the top. The colors don't look like the photos, and they're too sick to fully appreciate where they are. The Colosseum, Rome, Italy. The Colosseum is one of the most extraordinary structures ever built. Completed in 80 AD, it held up to 80,000 spectators and hosted gladiatorial contests, public executions, and animal hunts for 4 centuries. Nearly 15 million people visited it in 2024, more than any other monument on Earth, surpassing even the Louvre. The sheer volume of visitors has turned what should be a profound historical experience into something far more chaotic. Standard adult tickets cost 18 euros, which allows 20 minutes on the Colosseum's main floor. The ticketing system has been a persistent source of frustration. In April 2025, Italy's antitrust authority fined 6 tour operators and the official ticketing company a combined 20 million euros for using automated software to bulk buy tickets, making standard price tickets nearly impossible to purchase online. Tourists were routinely forced into buying higher-priced packages bundled with guides or skip-the-line services just to guarantee entry. A new named ticketing system requiring passport details at the time of booking has added further complexity to an already difficult process. Inside, the crowds are relentless. In high season, the Colosseum is packed every day of the week, with no meaningful difference between weekdays and weekends. The interior is largely stripped bare. The wooden arena floor is mostly gone, the seating long destroyed, leaving visitors navigating a shell of the original structure. It is still a remarkable place to stand. For many visitors, however, the combination of the aggressive ticketing market, the 20-minute floor access limit, the surrounding scrum of vendors, and the sheer number of people makes it difficult to feel anything close to the awe the history deserves. Alton Towers, England. Alton Towers is the UK's biggest theme park. Set across 910 acres of Staffordshire countryside, it has 10 themed areas, dozens of rides, and attracts over 2 million visitors a year. A 2025 global study by luggage company Radical Storage analyzed 95,352 visitor reviews across 200 of the world's most visited tourist attractions, and ranked Alton Towers the single most disappointing tourist attraction on the planet. Nearly 49.4% of all reviews were negative, against an average of 10.9% across all attractions studied. The study found that Alton Towers had the highest percentage of value for money complaints of any attraction analyzed. 18% of all reviews mentioned price, rip-off, or poor value, compared to a 2.8% average. Tickets cost upwards of £50 to £60 per person before on-site expenses. Food and drink at the park are consistently described as overpriced and poor quality. Ride breakdowns are a recurring complaint, with visitors reporting that several major attractions were closed on the day of their visit, resulting in 2-hour queues for the rides that were still operating. A Reddit thread in 2024 described spending £900 to fast-track 5 people through the park for a single day. The criticism is not aimed at the rides themselves, which many visitors enjoy. The problem is everything around them: misleading ticket structures, hidden costs, poor customer service, and a park that consistently fails to deliver what its marketing promises. On Trustpilot, 61% of reviews give Alton Towers just 1 star. On TripAdvisor, 2,630 of its 24,496 reviews are 1 star. For a theme park that charges premium prices in a country with a strong theme park culture, those numbers represent a persistent, documented pattern of disappointed visitors who feel they did not get what they paid for. Bondi Beach, Sydney, Australia. Bondi Beach is one of the most famous beaches in the world. Its crescent of golden sand, reliable surf, and postcard backdrop have made it a global symbol of Australian beach culture for decades. A 2025 study that examined over 100 internationally celebrated beaches, analyzing tourist reviews, search engine data, social media interest, and environmental conditions, ranked Bondi Beach the #1 most disappointing beach in the world. The gap between expectation and reality is that significant. The beach itself is just half a mile of sand, 8 kilometers from Sydney's city center. In peak summer months, it is packed shoulder to shoulder with tourists, backpackers, and day trippers who have all come for the same thing: the iconic Bondi experience. The restaurants and cafes lining Campbell Parade are consistently described as overpriced and unremarkable. Surf lessons and beach club passes add further expense. Locals who know Sydney well point to dozens of beaches within an hour of the city, Manly, Coogee, Bronte, that offer quieter, cleaner, more genuinely beautiful coastlines without the crowds or the prices. Bondi receives over 1 million international visitors per year. The volume of people, the commercialization of the strip, and the crowded conditions create an experience that many visitors describe as chaotic rather than relaxing. Australia has 26,000 kilometers of coastline, some of the most pristine beaches on Earth. The fact that so many international tourists spend their limited time in Australia on a crowded half-mile of suburban sand because a television show and decades of marketing told them to is perhaps the starkest example of how reputation can outrun reality. Phuket, Thailand. Phuket is Thailand's largest island and one of the most marketed beach destinations in the world. For decades, it has been sold as a tropical paradise of white sand beaches, crystal water, and affordable luxury. Research by Money Transfers named it the most overcrowded tourist destination on Earth, with roughly 118 tourists for every 1 local resident. The Federation of Thai Tourism Associations formally warned the Thai government in 2024 that over-tourism on the island had reached crisis point. The island's most famous beaches, Patong, Kata, and Karon, are relentlessly commercial. What were once fishing villages are now a dense strip of beach clubs, jet ski operators, souvenir stalls, and overpriced seafood restaurants. Scammers and aggressive touts are a consistent feature of traveler reviews. Environmental damage is severe. The coral reefs surrounding Phuket have deteriorated significantly under the pressure of mass tourism, and pollution on some beaches is visible. The infrastructure, roads, waste management, and water systems was not built for the volume of visitors it now receives, and traffic congestion in peak season can make moving around the island an exercise in frustration. What makes Phuket's position on this list so striking is that the alternative is obvious. Thailand has over 1,400 islands. Many of them offer precisely what Phuket was once famous for: genuine natural beauty, quieter coastlines, clear water, and a more authentic experience of Thai culture. Phuket's dominance in travel marketing means millions of visitors choose it by default, without knowing that better options exist a short boat ride away. The island that was once a genuine paradise has, through the weight of its own success, becomes something else entirely. A cautionary tale about what happens when tourism grows faster than the land and the people can bear. The places on this list aren't secrets. They're some of the most booked, most photographed, and most marketed destinations on Earth. And that's exactly the problem. The bigger the reputation, the wider the gap between what people expect and what they actually find when they get there. What's more alarming is that this list barely scratches the surface. There are dozens more famous attractions around the world where the gap between promise and reality is just as wide. Places people are still paying to visit right now, without knowing what's waiting for them. If you enjoyed this video, click on the video on screen now to enjoy more beyond belief facts.